I'm your host, Regulus. We're here with Ricardo and Feras, or Rick. Where today our topic is AI education, or AI in education. I got a survey in my email asking me to do a survey about AI in education, and I decided why not do an episode about it. So here we are. It's a really big subject and wide. Like the teachers use AI, students use AI, faculty in colleges use AI. Like it's becoming ingrained in our everyday life. So how do we, what's the idea of AI in education? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What do you guys think?
Honestly, I think it is probably the future of education. I don't think the technology is there yet to fully, replace a teacher or anything like that. But I've always thought that Montessori schools were kind of the next step forward in, innovating education, right?
In what way? And, what about Montessori schools specifically?
So the Montessori style schools enable students to kind of choose their own learning path, pick what they're interested in and study in an interest-based style, which teachers can facilitate up to a certain point. But, obviously, the teachers don't know everything, so they can, accommodate your learning interests, so far. But once it gets beyond the borders of what they know, all they can say is, teach you how to research it, sure, but beyond that, little to say on the subject.
So, you think, go for it.
Yeah, I think as AI develops, it'll be increasingly able. I mean, it's already to an extent able to do it now. I mean, it's a kind of a lookup engine and a tutor in one to a certain extent. Right now, it still gets things wrong. And, there's no easy way to hook it up to a grading system or anything like that. But as it develops, I think it will be able to, check itself for accuracy before it answers questions. And then hook up to other systems, like some sort of grading app, homework design app, how do I, make templates for student assignments and tests and things like that. And as those integrations become possible, I think it will increasingly be able to sort of replace the teacher in the classroom, especially in a self-interest driven learning style.
I mean, on that same note, what about the AI replacing the student? And somebody just facilitating all of their work through an AI to do their work for them rather than it being their own effort. Do you think that it will just result in a system of AI teaching AI, or will we be able to overcome that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing with the calculator, right? I remember when I was growing up in school, we weren't allowed to use calculators on a good chunk of our assignments, right? We had to kind of figure that out, especially in the earlier grades. As we went up in grades, obviously, by the time you're doing calculus, you need a calculator, because you're just learning how to plug in the functions. You can't, you theoretically could, but you're not going to sit there and try to, graph all those points yourself.
Yeah.
And I think in a similar vein, in the same way that, calculators have become increasingly integrated into the school itself, so you can't, even phones to a certain extent, just looking things up has become increasingly part of the school curriculum rather than having to, know how to go into the library, read a book until you find the information you're looking for, or pour through several books to find the information you're looking for. Now you can just look it up, right? So these tools, they at first are seen as cheating, and then over time they become integrated, and part of the curriculum becomes, how do you get the most out of this tool? right?
So one thing that I'm afraid of is like I study philosophy, but the philosophy that I study, I practice in order to learn it. I don't just study ideas and concepts and then say that I know these concepts, so I know the philosophy. It's like you have to
Mhm.
put it into practice in order to actually understand the concepts and what they actually mean. And I feel like that's going to become a big issue is if we're relying on AI, we're going to be more conceptual than practical. And that's going to prevent us from actually understanding how reality works because all of our education is funneled through a filter, right?
Um, that's possible. And again, you can argue the same thing for calculators, right? Right. The calculator, to a certain extent, robs the student of valuable experience actually solving an equation. Instead you're just plugging it in and getting the right result. Now you can restrict that for a certain phase of the education. You can say, all right, right now for this assignment, I want to make sure you're not using your calculator. I want to make sure you're not, Googling the answers. This is not a open book test or anything like that. So, you just got to solve it out of your own brain. Kind of force students that way to temporarily go without the extra convenience. But it's still, it's integrated eventually into the education system. I kind of, when discussing the subject, I can't help but think about, I want to say it was Socrates' complaint about writing, that he thought that writing was going to, strip people of their memorization ability.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was
I
just
heard about the story. Yeah. That's
yeah,
true.
yeah. And, to a certain extent, that's true. Once you can record things down, there's not as much need to try to remember everything. But also, it's such a convenient tool that we kind of base the beginning of history off of when we first can see writing appearing in the historical record.
That's true. That's true. We know that there's stories passed down through words, but the written language is where it all started for history's sake. Go ahead, Feras.
Yeah, I just want to elaborate on something here, okay, which is the comparison between calculators and the current or the upcoming AI systems or models, okay? It is just like comparing between apples and oranges, okay, because calculators in principle, they are, let's say, they are vastly different from AI systems, because AI systems, they can do things right. Okay, and by the way, if the current trajectory continues, we will arrive at something totally different. Okay, we all will arrive at something that can research things, entire things. Okay, when we send students to schools, we send them because we want to teach them how to research things, how to solve problems. Why you will send them to schools in the first place if there are AI systems that can research things in more efficient and in cheaper way? So I think in principle, the entire educational process will be pointless. Okay, why we send our kids to schools? Okay, if we know already that in the upcoming 2 years, 3 years, maximum 5 years, I think, okay, AGI will come, AGI will start to have its own toll or its own, its own effects in the economy. And we must remember something here. We are inside a capitalist system. Capitalism depends in specializations. Every worker has specialty, and AI is stealing these specializations from humans. AI steals skills.
I have an
so
answer
why
to
we
that.
should send our kids to schools?
I have an answer
Education
for that,
will be pointless.
I think that there are certain jobs that AI won't be able to do as well as humans. For example, when there's a personal touch required, say like as a host at a restaurant, or as a so if it's a nice, upstanding, or classy place, you're going to want a human person there to like wait on your customers, to smile at them, to show them there's like actual like value behind that through a human to human experience, right? Like eventually, if we get to a point where AI takes over most of our systems of like cheap labor that are like simple tasks, or like things that can just be done through an algorithm, then we'll rely on other humans to provide us with emotional comfort and emotional support. That's something the robots can't provide us. So I think that it'll open up an avenue for more people to become creators and to make things rather than just do simple repetitive tasks for work, right? Like, and I'm not talking like, so for example, if we made a good enough AI that was able to handle financial problems, right? I'm not talking like a stock robot, but like a actual accounting robot, right? If we were able to make a strong enough accounting robot, we could replace every single accountant in the world, just like that. And that's a problem, but at the same time, an answer to it could be that all those people are now available to go on Twitch, or to, go on fucking social media, excuse my language, go on social media and post whatever they want. And if they have people that like their content, even if it's one other person, they're serving a purpose to the whole, right? They're not taking away, they're contributing. And in some small way, it's still and if we have AI to run our systems, we're not gonna have to depend on each person's resource input to like gain resources, because we'll have cheap systems of labor that are robotic and mechanical to create our resources for us. So we're the ones who are going to be.
I don't think there is AI proof jobs. I don't think this is true. Okay. AI systems are gaining more intelligence day by day. Okay. And as they do this, as they continue this trend, they will acquire, or they will steal skills one by one, okay, until there is nothing left to do. Okay, I think this is a fallacy when we say that there is AI proof job. No, this is a fallacy, because if this is true, let me rephrase it like this, okay? Companies are trying right now, okay, to create agents, specialized agents, customer service agents, data analysis agents, graphic design agents, all these things. Okay, and what is the goal? The goal is to replace people. Their goal is to replace people. They want, or they seek, a portion from the pie. Okay, I mean from the workforce. And companies, because we are living in a capitalist system, companies will ask for this. They want to replace their workforce or the human labor, because the human labor is taking the largest portion. The largest portion of budget. So I don't think there will be any AI-proof jobs. One by one, even doctors, even nurses, they will go.
I think that there's going to be large populations of people that refuse to use these systems. Like anytime there's a big change in society, there's resistance in the general populace. And I think that this is like one of those transitions that is going to be really big in that way. Like a lot of people will take time to adjust to, like, look at old people now. There's 70-year-olds out there who, when they try to use their phone, they don't know how to use it because it's too new of technology. Like people who are just a little bit older than us, they don't even understand what AI even is, really, like we do. Like
we don't speak about 1 year, 2 years. We speak about at least 3, 5, maybe 10 years. Okay, still, we speak about new generation of people.
What I'm saying is that in 10 years from now, all the 50-plus-year-olds are going to not have any idea what this is, and they're going to prefer human-on-human contact. Like, They might like try to replace a bunch of systems with AI, but there's going to be a lot of people that still only go to places that hire other humans, right? Like, that's one of the things with capitalism is the market forces are dependent upon what people are desiring, right? So if people desire human contact and human service, then they'll have to provide human service.
My friend, the upcoming AI models will imitate the humans in, let's say, in a perfect way. We will lose the ability to distinguish between humans and non-humans. Okay, as we do right now, when we see the scripts or the articles produced by ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, okay, we don't know this is text, okay, and it looks a human.
I think that to be fair,
like a human.
How many like physically, how large is the servers that house these AIs that you're discussing, like ChatGPT? How many warehouses of servers do they have to make that one chatbot run, right? And you're trying to say that there's going to be that much space condensed into like a machine in a restaurant to serve burgers? I don't think they're going to be that complicated, my guy.
No, ChatGPT will not jump from the screen and serve you burger. Okay, but companies like Tesla and Boston Dynamics, okay, they will put smart system inside the heads of their robots. Okay, and these robots will behave and speak and display emotions just like humans.
Well, as far as this, people will demand human interaction. I think we can look at a few markets that currently exist without even really having AI to speak of. Just like normal machines starting to replace labor. So I'll give you a few examples. At my local grocery store, there are more self-checkout lanes being installed increasingly, and it's like the self-checkout lane, is it good at pretending to be a human? No, not particularly. It doesn't even really try to pretend to be human, except for maybe like a voice that says, please put your groceries in the bag. But, increasingly people are using it because it's more convenient. Will there be some people who would prefer a human cashier? Yes, but they're an increasingly dwindling minority. And over time, they will eventually be replaced by a generation that grew up around this technology and is actually more comfortable using the convenient technology than going up and talking to a person, right? Another example, my local Taco Bell, they just have a touch screen that allows you to place your order rather than having to, go up and talk to the cashier, which basically just adds like 2 extra cashiers that they normally wouldn't be able to put up at the desk, because they can just place the screens wherever they want in the restaurant. And you can just go up to them wherever you feel like.
McDonald's, the same thing too. Some McDonald's branches, they start to implement this technology too.
Yeah,
I see it.
I've seen it at my McDonald's too, yeah.
So, and these things don't even necessarily have to increasingly emulate humans to be utilized, right? The touch screen has no human face, has no human voice. It's just the convenience of being able to tap a screen. And you can increasingly do that from the comfort of your own home as well.
I do want to point out that I made the distinction that like a classy restaurant versus I wasn't really talking about fast food. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are still going to potentially be, very high-end experience. I mean, you could see that even generations down the road after AI has replaced basically everything. There's some very niche concept restaurant that's at this restaurant you can interact with humans, and all the wait staff and even the chefs are still people, but I think as time goes on, that's going to be more of a luxury thing. at this place, there are humans, and every other thing is just going to be the convenience of you press a button, everything else happens, behind the screen, and then you just get your stuff.
Yeah.
So here we should return to our first point. So why we should send our kids to school? To learn what?
I think school, over the course of time, now this isn't going to happen right away, but over the course of time, school is going to be less and less about churning out workers, because there's going to be less demand for workers in society in general, like we've already been talking about. So that's why I think we're going to probably see more Montessori-style schooling, where it's interest-driven by the students themselves. They start exploring what they would like to know about the world, right? Because that's one barrier we haven't yet really been able to cross over, is as much as the AI knows, we can't just transplant that into the human brain, and the human brain still wants to know, right? There's still that curiosity driving us. Now, I think there is going to be a bit of a struggle at first, because we're going to go through a very rough transition period where machines and AI are increasingly taking over various industries and job markets, and yet people still need to get paid. They still need money in order to support their lifestyles. And I don't think, we as a society have worked out a good way to transition people out of the economy, right? I don't think there's a good process for that yet.
Exactly.
We depend so much on the idea that society runs by people doing work, and as those people...
Yeah. They do work and take salary.
Yeah.
Right now, we send our kids to school and universities to get degrees and have a job, okay, and and continue their normal life. But now, the question is why? There is no point. Okay, there's no job. There's no jobs at the end of the road, right? Here, this has enormous consequences in the educational institutions like universities, okay, and private schools. These institutions will close one by one because they are pointless.
Well, see, right? I think even as, even if we imagine like an incredibly advanced society where basically all work has been taken over by the machines, there's still going to be a demand for education by human beings, simply because you need to have some sort of knowledge in order to have any interest to explore in the first place. Like your life has less zest in it. You've got less going on the less you know about the world, right? So there's still going to be a demand for you. People are still going to want their children to be philosophers, artists, dreamers, even long after the need to have a job in order to support yourself disappears.
I think that's a good point. Like once we have a strong AI system, the education for these specific jobs that AI has taken over will be less. There might still be some people that go into those jobs to research, to work with AI, to felt further what AI is capable of. But other jobs, the teachers will become people who are great inventors or great artists or so on and so forth, and they'll try to teach other people how to create in a way that's their own, but also like them, right? So we'll be able to share our passions with each other. We'll be able to share our love of what we do, right? Rather than doing something we have to do, we'll be able to share what we love.
My friend, listen, okay, the current economical system is based on scarcity. Okay, people learn how to design and to produce good art because they believe their work is scarce and has a value. But now this is going to change because AI can produce massive quantities of art, cheap art, and high quality art. Okay, so why you need to learn to design things or to make any sort of artwork or anything? Okay, because
Yeah.
it's
Why do
pointless.
people go to rock climbing walls or race tracks and things like that, even though, there's not any profit to be made in learning to climb really high walls or to drive around in circles? People just love to be entertained. They have hobbies and things that they become good at, not because they believe that there's any profit in it, but because it is their interest, their source of entertainment, to be able to grow and expand in these ways and do these things. So I think, again, there is still going to be a market for education as entertainment, self-development as a way to enjoy life more, get more out of life.
Yeah, like classes for enrichment. Like you could take culinary arts instead of using it to cook at a school. You could learn to cook for yourself, like how to
Yeah,
make the stuff you want.
yeah. Yeah, this is. I think Ricardo, you are right. I agree with this, Ricardo. Okay, but this this idea just applies in a utopia. We don't send our kids to schools because they have hobbies. Okay, we send them to schools because we believe in the future they will have a job.
Well, what
They
you're
will get
talking
some
about,
cash to support
what you're
themselves.
what you're talking about
Okay,
is the transition period between our current way of doing things and the future after AI and machines have taken over the entire job market. I don't know what exactly the transition between those two worlds is going to be like, because there is going to be a lot of roughness to it, and we currently don't have a good transition policy in place.
exactly. Yes.
We don't have a
And this is
plan for how we're going to switch over.
I think that
true. Yes. Yes.
humans have a hard time with change. A lot of us get stuck in tradition and we get comfortable with our traditions rather than being adaptable to new things. And that's what causes the resistance from people. I think that if we were able to learn to adapt as a species rather than as individuals within our locality, we would be able to or the people who do adapt within their locality to help the other people around them to adapt, right? Like that's
Well,
kind
I
of what
don't
we're gonna
think
have to
it's
do.
just. I don't think it's just that we're slow to change. I think part of the issue is that money is a tool to help society figure out what it needs, right? We use supply and demand, especially demand, in order to figure out, what people are actually interested in, where their needs are, et cetera. That's one of the reasons that a lot of socialist planned economies usually end up collapsing, is because in process, when you're just trying to sit there, on top, in some sort of government bureaucracy and figure out okay, how much toilet paper are we going to produce? How much coffee beans are we going to produce? You don't know how much people actually are going to want, how much they're actually going to go through in an average week. And you can try to adjust your calculations based on how much is disappearing from the store shelves or something like that. But you're going to keep falling behind, right? That's one of the key value points of money as a system, is that it makes it very easy to say, okay, we need more, let's say, again, toilet paper. And so people are spending more money on toilet paper, and thus the people who make toilet paper have more money to make more toilet paper. That's part of how supply and demand works, right? We, by default, get more resources to the people who are producing the things that we want more of. And we do it in proportion to the degree that we want it as a society. It's a very good tool for that. And so part of the issue with trying to phase people out of the economy is we don't really know who needs to be phased out when. I mean, we know kind of what jobs AI can start to replace, but we don't know how fast they can replace people, right? We don't know how quickly or slowly people will cotton on to certain new technologies. We don't know in advance what kind of weird issues might arise as technologies, grow up around us. And so we're stuck in this awkward position where, people are starting to lose their jobs. We don't really know what to do with them in the meantime. And if we try to just like throw money at the problem, then we're distorting our metrics.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about this too. Okay. I was thinking about how we can adopt to this trend. Okay. How society as a whole can adopt to this enormous changes that we are about to witness right now, in front of our eyes, all of us. And I didn't find, let's say, in a specific way. I didn't find. It's hard. Okay. Suddenly to wake up suddenly and find that most jobs are obsolete. Most jobs are no longer needed. Most, let's say, most specialization inside universities and colleges are obsolete. No need to learn, for example, software engineering because Devin can do it for you. Okay, no need to learn, for example, graphic design because Midjourney or DALL-E 3, okay, can do it for you. Okay, and so on and so forth. So how we can adopt all of this? Okay, in your model, as you mentioned, okay, supply and demand. In this case, the supply is huge and the demand is stable. Okay, supply is huge. A lot of art, a lot of goods, a lot of things that AI can generate and complete for you, and the demand is stable. Okay, now in such a system, the value, okay, of products become increasingly low. Okay, and the value of labor become extremely low. Okay, which is dangerous in all metrics and all levels. Okay, this is why we should rethink the education, the educational process again now. We should wake up. Okay, this is an open call for all students up there. Those who right now, okay, study all sort of engineering, all sort of any cognitive skill. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, AI is going to take that from you soon or later. This is my thought.
Things are becoming obsolete. Entire fields.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, considering we can't delay progress, right? How are we going to like cope going forward, right? Like, what do you think is going to be our best way to cope with these changes? How are we going to be able to how do I put this? Align ourselves with the change rather than make ourselves an enemy of it, right? Like, how are we going to ride the wave into it being successful and beneficial for us rather than allowing it to put us in a worse situation? Do you guys see a way
that's going to be really tricky because technology has a way of surprising us with the way that it develops, right? I don't think people were expecting artists to be one of the first groups kind of replaced or phased out by technology. And then it just sort of happened overnight. Like suddenly this technology appeared. I didn't even know people were working on it to that extent. And then suddenly it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. And you can just, type in a bar in a few seconds, hey, I want to see, a cat riding a unicorn on a rainbow. And suddenly, and it's not perfect. There still might be like some demand for, real artists, but it's increasingly rapidly being phased out. I don't think anyone saw that coming. So, it's what Feras was saying earlier, we just need to like realize that all of these industries are becoming obsolete. The issue is we don't really know at what rate they're becoming obsolete. We don't know at any point how close to not needing a certain, entire sector of the economy we are at any given point until it sneaks up on us, right? Like software engineers, currently still very in demand. There are AI that are becoming increasingly capable of writing portions of code, but as someone who works with AI and code a lot, as part of my, day-to-day job, especially lately, AI really sucks at coding right now. I'm sure it will get better over time. I don't know when. It's just it. Like, I have no way someone could come up with some surprising solution tomorrow, and the next generation of AI that's suddenly everywhere. It's like you type in 2 words and it's figured out your entire code base and it's got it all written up for you. Or, I could still have, several more years where the AI becomes slowly integrated into the process. But, I still have plenty of, work out there for me. So, it's one of those things. It's like, and it's hard to tell people like, oh, you guys don't need to worry about finding work anymore because your job is pretty much going to become obsolete. When people still, A, they still need money, and B, they don't know when the sector of the economy will go out of, style, when it'll suddenly be phased out, right? Like, doctors, we still need doctors for now. If people suddenly stopped training themselves to become doctors, we would suffer a huge shortage in the near future, right? Unless AI suddenly sneaks up on us and like, oh, hey, we figured out how to replace doctors entirely. Here you can have this new like med AI.